pick her up. All right.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I still can't do it on fire Okay, I call this meeting to order, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the July 9th, 2018 Town Council meeting. And for treasurer to note, all council members are present. And I think our first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes dated back to June 11th. We need a motion to approve the minutes dated June 11th.
Yeah, I make a motion we approve.
Second, please. All members in favor?
Aye.
I think the next thing is to start off with the May financials by our clerk treasurer. Oops.
Yeah. Okay, hand these out. Greg needs one in the altar, and maybe not. Okay. The town received their property tax revenue in June, and the total amount was $124,357.50. $7,878 went to the State Board of Accounts to pay for the audit for the general fund. So what was deposited in the general fund was $116,282.35. Morgantown Fire Department was paid their $40,000 for their agreement of their contract. I'm going to pass out copies of the proposed 2019 budget for you to review. My meeting with the DLGF is July the 17th in Martinsville. And the public hearing for the 2019 proposed budget will be Monday, August the 13th at 6 p.m. And we will do a resolution to reduce this year's budget because we have several appropriations that we're not going to be spending or funds. The wastewater planning grant contract has been signed by all parties and of course was approved. And another thing, it might pass, take one of these and pass. New requirements by the State Board of Accounts for government officials or clerk treasurer starting in July. We have to upload the following monthly reports to them. Our bank reconciliations, our approved board minutes, our fund ledger detailing receipts and disbursement by fund. So that's another added duty that we have. The annual upload requirement in addition to the annual report would be the year-end bank statements, the year-end outstanding checklist, the year-end investment statements, and details of the receipt and disbursements for the year, and the salary ordinance, the employee earning record, and the annual vendor history report. So those are new duties. Mickey with Blue Benefits contacted me last week, and she had spoken to Lee, and she said she would be preparing that agreement for the town and would be sending documents for Mike to sign. She said she would be sending them last week, but I still haven't received them. I have talked to Keystone, and our software system is set up where employee deduction for the plan will be by percent. So if you figure out about how much you want taken out of your check, and then we're just gonna have to convert it to a percent, 10%, 5%, 3%, whatever. And the way I understand it, now I even talked to Nikki, but Keystone told me, your deduction will not be taxed only after the remaining payroll balance. So they'll take this off first, whatever you want to be put in your retirement account, and then you will be taxed. But the town will have to pay extra FICA and Med on their match. Is that, I mean, this is what Keystone told me, so I'll know a little bit more about it, or hopefully understand a little bit better when I talk to Nikki. Because I was told I needed to budget more money in the budget on the line item for FICA Med. I just thought I'd let you guys know about that. And I'm asking the council to hire Steve Brock to complete an asset ledger for the town. We've never had an asset ledger, and this has been a comment or finding on the from the State Board of Accounts audit for years. And we need to get this done, and it could be expensive. He says it could take 3 or 4 days. Because we don't have a lot of information, it's never been done for the town. We don't have a lot of information about the value of, this would be our infrastructure, our roads, our streets, the lagoon, the buildings, anything over $5,000 that the town owns.
Says here, he'll split the cost of that through 5 different funds.
Yes, we can split the cost. But if you remember, Mike, at the audit closeout, they were very firm that that needs to be done. They're getting stricter. They're giving you a certain amount of time to get these things done. And it's something that needs to be done.
Well, that's what we're trying to do, is wrap up the things that we're behind on, and we've been doing well.
Now, this is really the only thing that they I don't know for sure how much it's going to cost. He said, it would be by the hour, and he would come down here and have to go through some records, may have to create.
Are you looking for an approval for this tonight, or you want to get some more information on it and the cost?
Well, I talked to him today, and he said he can't really give me, it depends on how long it takes to locate records or to,
I know Steve's trying to help us in several different ways.
2 to 3 days, maybe. But it's got to be done.
Is it something, just asking, is it something that can be put off till the next meeting as far as total information? Or do we need it, do we want to get approval right away so we can get started?
Well, he said it might take 2 or 3 days, and I said 2,000 or 3,000, and he said possibly.
You have to have it done, right? So you need a motion?
We have to have gotta do it.
I guess if there's money in wastewater, they split this up.
There's general, I mean, I'm gonna split this up 5 different ways.
Yeah. You know, we got bills already in wastewater, and we got the money in there to pay.
Well, we're working on it.
We are.
Do we
Yeah,
know
we're
how
not.
much he's
I
charging
think
per hour, that we could ask around and find somebody? I mean, we've only talked
he is our
about,
financial advisor. We've used him for years.
right, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't find somebody that would charge less, I mean, if we're trying to save money.
Do we have to take out wastewater? Can we just bypass wastewater?
We can bypass wastewater.
I said, no, and just take more out of the general fund or wherever,
Mhm.
because we're in such straits with the wastewater anyway. Just tonight.
I wonder if Steve, and I'm not trying to postpone this getting done, it does have to get done, but I wonder if he could, have you thought about it more, that he could give us like a not to exceed figure, or at least give you, this is what an hourly rate will be, and this is what is estimated, and if I see this going to exceed this, I will proceed without further authorization, or not because I don't have, I think we have a high level of confidence in it all, but you're being asked to approve something that doesn't have any detail tonight. I think that's what's got you all a little uncomfortable. I don't know, but I'm not speaking for him, but, you know, a lot of providers like that would say, you know, it's going to be 2 or 3 days, we're going to bid it by the hour, but it won't exceed this amount.
Either
So,
that.
you know, we have an upper ceiling or something.
That or go to a job price, not an hour price.
You know,
And,
I get the part about he doesn't know how much time it's going to take, but he has some idea what time it's going to take, I guess. And so I think it's fair to say, can you give us a better estimate than what we have right now?
And just how much he's gonna charge per hour. would be
Yeah,
nice to know.
I mean, if we asked him for that and it didn't get approved until the next meeting, would that be okay, you think?
Yes.
That's soon enough?
Yeah. I asked him, but he was gone and then.
Yeah, no, he's been real busy, and you know,
And
last
I-
week people were out, and I think,
I asked him to do that.
Yeah.
He didn't get it done because he was out last week,
Yeah.
and I talked to him today. and-
well, then, and so he won't be surprised if we ask him, and you've already asked him. I don't think this is, state work council not gonna come in here and raid the place or something, and sit and done, if 30 days later than what it would be if you approved it tonight.
Right.
So I don't think you guys ought to feel pressured to approve this tonight, but I do think it's something that you're gonna have to get around to having done.
And with what he's trying to do to raise funds, to figure out what we can do to get things paid and paid off and paid up, and he's working on that as well, where the monies can come from.
Hmm.
That could be included in that.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that a little later in this meeting, about moving some money from water to sewer to get the sewer bills paid, and then we're moving a little extra into sewer just for things that may come up, and so that'll all be in place too, if you decide this next month rather than tonight. That seems like it might be more comfortable. Is that message for you?
That's fine.
Okay. So why don't we just ask Steve to give us a more detailed proposal and be as precise as he can be? And then maybe get that to you ahead of the meeting or something, if you could study it a little bit before the meeting.
Okay, and I will read these balances. The general fund balances as of June 2018, it is $309,373.34. MVH is $67,310.92. And then the total of all funds within the general fund is $620,533.70. Water operating is $113,587.78, and wastewater is $1,485.72. And the stormwater operating balance is $16,031.43.
We need an approval of the docket dated July 9th, 2018, totaling $355,670.73.
I'll make a motion.
We need a second.
I'll second it.
All members in favor?
Aye.
We need approval of the June 2018 payroll. We need a motion to approve the June 2018 payroll.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All members in favor?
Aye.
Need a approval of the bank reconciliation for June 2018. A motion to approve the bank reconciliation on 2018.
I'll make the motion, we approve it.
Need a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is a copy of the, of the proposed budget. I'll take, pass it to you for you to look at. This is another form I thought might be interesting to take a look at. It's prior budgets and the new budget, and how much we spent a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So. That's all I have.
Okay. With the help of Marshall, we'll find on the table, it's an employee position description, job description, if you will. Something that it's been put off for a long time. And one of the other things kind of dropped in our lap. And we've studied it and looked at it, basically the same as it has been. But we had to redo it. We had to complete it again. And I asked the marshal to help me with this because he had done this before. And quite a bit, actually. He's done a study on how to do it. And it is very well put together. And it explains each and every job and position to the T. And I'd like tonight, if everybody has looked at it and viewed it, that we approve this. We can put this to bed. What it's going to do is to help us when we start to do our reviews. That's what's going to help us. That's something to go by. I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but I'd like to have the input of the marshal And as he put this together, it's very, very intelligent.
In 2016, when I came here, we did not have a job description for any of the police officers specifically. So as you can see that by the revision date, I started out with not only my job description, but the deputy marshal's job description as well, and one for the reserves. And when we did our review for 2016 and January 2017, I used this job description and came up with a performance review. And based on a lot of what was based on the same type of performance review that I used with the state police and also with the sheriff's department in Brown County. So it's pretty consistent with what is being used successfully. And this same format I adopted through one of the southern universities back a few years ago, and the county council, Brown County accepted it, and that's the one they still go by today, that same format. With Sharon bringing the State Board of Accounts, one of the things on their agendas was that we all needed a job description. So last fall, I got with Jeff and we wrote a job description for the DPW supervisor and in October, I think. And then I think Becky put together a job description and probably 2 or 3 different pages of information. So I met with Jeff on 2 or 3 different occasions and did his and developed one for Jesse. And I took the information from Becky's, what she had put in there, and basically just squeezed a lot of the same information into this format and used the same. It basically says the same thing, but yet it's now in the same format as everyone else's is. And we met with Becky today, and she looked over it and has, at least at first thought it was pretty good. I don't know if you had.
I think it's really good.
And I think that she was comfortable with that, and Jeff, I met with him again today and made sure that we went through and had the correct one for him. Once again, this is the baseline for a performance review, and if you're going to supervise employees, those employees need to know what's expected of them. And this is kind of an outline of that. It doesn't include everything, not every single thing that they do, but then those things that go beyond that can be addressed in a job performance evaluation. And so that's kind of next on the agenda, is to develop the format for the DPW and also for Town Hall. And Becky, and I've asked Becky to help me with that, understand her job a little better, and so we can come up with a more accurate evaluation or performance evaluation.
I, for one, would like to thank you very much for that. It's a lot of work. A lot of work, a lot of time. Not even in your job description to do that. But you're probably the most quick person here with our group to do that. With what we had to do with Brown County, doing that with them, and it's we capitalized on your knowledge on it. I'd like to thank you for that.
Well, I did plagiarize some things from the state police when I left there, and a few things from Brown County, and some from the school corporation. But it's a melting of 3 different locations, and I think it gives you a pretty comprehensive look as to, if you want to advertise a job, you base it on a job description.
So I'd like to, if the council has viewed it, it's basic, it's something we have to have. And if anyone's in mind to adopt this, and as I said, not adopt it, but actually, in order. I did ask for motion.
I'm very not happy with it, but most of it all makes sense. Very common nonsense, but I'll make a motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, walking down the line, I think we have the soil testing at Sycamore Street. Jeff, you have anything on that?
Okay, I'm, in front of you is Arc Engineering Services Incorporated. I gave you copies of phase 1 and phase 2. Since there's been questions, and rightly so, about what is there and what isn't now, or any contaminants or anything like that. The best I've been able to find, and from talking to the engineer, that the archives on these things are hard to find. But anyway, it's due for another testing, because we're thinking about making that into a park and what possibility. So according to the reported survey areas, it's been surveyed through the towns. We're going to have an engineering, or I'd like to have an engineering firm come down to do, phase 1 is identifying places that they probably would want to put in cliff notes here, identifying locations that they would probably like to soil sample, drill, like a core drill, and that would be going into phase 2. But I don't know that we understand it. We just really need to prove phase 1.
Yeah, if they want to go ahead with phase 1, I think the total cost of that's about $1,800, a tick over $1,800. And, but the soil samples is actually what we're after. So I'm not so sure that just for them to identify it, so we want to dig here, and I think that probably the whole thing needs to be approved.
Talked to Sharon, and there is money in the park fund besides another fund that was located that can be used for park purposes too. So, is that correct, Sharon?
Yeah, it's CCD. We have 49,499.
And that, and then 15,000 in the park, maybe a little less than that in the park fund. But so we've gone with this and see what possibilities we could make of this. I'd like for the council to approve me to go ahead and start having this engineering firm do phase 1 and phase 2 of the Sycamore Street Park property.
Any comment, council? Right.
Yeah.
We have a motion for that?
Make a motion to approve those sample.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Also, if you're aware, I don't know how much we're going to have left on tree removal after today, but Thursday night after that tree line windstorm hit, we had 2 large trees come down along the power line on Bill Street. Well, one was a very large tree, the other one was just added to the mix. We got a quote from a tree service that hauls away debris and logs and stuff. And they're like $340 a load. And we're estimating that there would have been possibly 4 to 5 tons, but I think we're down to 3.
Could be 2.
Yeah, it could be 2, but I'd just like to get the council approval for 3, just in case, at the sum of $1,020. And that would come out of what? I forgot to write that down.
It'll come out of MBA.
UVH, my, what,
Contractual.
which has,
Yes.
oh,
yes.
well, it
It
had,
had plenty. It had enough. 3,700 or something.
Now, that happened on Thursday night, and it was quite a deal. There was people that needed electricity quickly with physical problems, and the guys stepped up.
we got there, again,
Duke was called at, I was actually informed by Walter at 4:15. And I got there, which it was pretty much right out the back door, so it wasn't hard for him to figure it out. Really lost the power, but anyway, I immediately got there and called Duke, and unfortunately, on that part of it, Duke didn't show up till after 9, and we had to stay there late on because there was power lines in there, but there's nothing we could do until Duke cleared the lines, and we had to stay there and couldn't make it till the next day because that's right in that conglomeration is where their new pole needed to go. So as soon as they okayed it, then we had to immediately work till like 3 o'clock the next morning on clearing that out. And timing was excellent on that end of it because right as we were finishing up to get that area cleared out, the pole crew showed up to put the pole in. So.
Part of today was spent on it yet, and part of tomorrow will be spent on it to get it completed. It's quite a mess, but it's about to come together. But we do need, you can't beat what this guy's gonna do with us. He's gonna bring a massive box on a truck and just with a claw, just reach and grab logs bigger than this table, and I'm serious, and just pick them up and get rid of them.
Kramer remarks,
And,
same.
so we need a
Motion.
motion for the money.
I'll make a motion to approve this for the tree removal.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we've been, I think it has been discussed in the meeting one time, what we ran into on this problem was several issues, and this comes back to wastewater, but we don't have to use wastewater to do this. This is a sewer camera that was demonstrated, passed around. It's 200 feet is what we put on the Rio is what I would want. We demonstrated it records, very durable, it records on a chip, so we can show it back to people if need be. And what brought this about was 2 things. Last fall, had a customer complaining about that their line was stopped up and was due to us. Well, our policy is that if the main's not stopped up, then it's the customer's liable, which is every town around the surrounding areas that I've talked to anyway, where if the main's not stopped up, it's liable, it's the customer's issue. And the customer did not believe this. And then this kind of multiplied into all of a sudden this other customer that uses that same line says, oh yeah, but mine is messed up. Well, it might be messed up, but it's not in the sewer main because everything is working fine in the sewer main. So this is one way to show them that, and it's going to be cost effective because we're not exploring all of our options. I mean, it was not good enough to say that, you've got the 10 or 15 houses north of you that flows that same way, and they're not having a problem, but yet this individual is. Well, that can't be. But just to help reassure them, to show them, no, it's not our line, it's your sewer. There's several different instances where this is going to come in handy. I know Joey and Jewel was having problems with water coming into the basement. This, unfortunately, it was caused by a sewer backup down off Morton Street. The county's not necessarily good there, but they're saying they're still having some issues with the with water drainage. I'm not quite sure where it's coming from because they've done a chlorine sample test, and the chlorine sample test is not indicating that it's town water, whether it be water or wastewater. Which brings up the issue that on the cost effectiveness, that line that runs the houses which face the west side of Morton and the east side of Grant are just in an easement that runs in between the houses, which is full of trees. This is going to help give us a heads up on what those sewers look like so we can start getting prepared and not have an emergency situation on cleaning the sewers out, or what action we need to take versus cleaning it out now, or getting a cutter truck in there. And then this applies to all over town, getting a cutter truck in where it's scheduled, where we can get them for a day for a certain amount versus an emergency call out, which is almost half as much as having them all day. Another sewer line, which has come up today, was on the south side of Washington Street and the south side of Washington Street and the north side of Elm Street. That location from Church Street, from Middle Street to Ash Street is all in between the two houses. All indications right now shows that it's going to be customer valuable because the line is hot. And we still have to run the sewer line, but that line also does not have a manhole access on the very east end of it, where it dead ends. This can be used for wastewater or stormwater, which we have an issue over here on stormwater on Sycamore Street, from from Sycamore up to Highland. And that's going to give us the storm ability to find out what's correct in there. The storm sewer, I'd like to purchase this out of storm sewer, which has $16,000 in it. The total cost of this would be $79.50, which actually is cheaper than what I thought it would be, $7,950. It's through Jack Donnelly Companies, which is a reputable. I've seen this unit at one of the training sessions I went to, and it really impressed me. The clarity and everything in the picture of the sewer line, I mean, might be better than the demonstration.
Amazing. One of the things that got my attention about this camera was back when we had our study done on the smoke testing, to find out what our infrastructure looked like. And they showed us and told us of several situations with sewers that were damaged that could be fixed. To keep from having all the rainwater infiltrating our sanitary system. And basically overflowing our system, costing us a lot of money. And this right here could show us places that we can't see, can't possibly find, without something to go down into the infrastructure to show it to us. And I've been bugging Jeff about this for quite a while. We need this, we need this, we need this. And I know it's gonna cost us, but it's gonna save us. And it's just gonna save us a lot of money. It's gonna put it back for us.
What do we pay now if somebody comes out? You have to have somebody come out every time though to see what the problem is for the camera.
No, we don't have a camera. We usually just have a line and that depends. Our jetter is not the strongest jetter in the world as it used to be, so we get a pretty good sized clog. Now this isn't going to keep us from having to do that.
Right, but it'll save us money.
But
So
it
we
might, like in the near future, might not be able to save us from doing that, to have a cutter truck come in. I don't know if our jetter would work or not. It's we try that first, and then if not, then we got to back off and call a cutter truck. But what it will do is, which granted time allowing, it will give us the ability to explore the sewer lines more often and see, hey, we got some potential buildup going on here. We better run this jetter through it before. But a truck is going to cost us, because it goes on a moment's notice. We don't usually know. A truck's going to cost you about $700.
Wow.
That's pop. A back truck every time.
It'll take every time.
Well, if you get a company come out and video, it's about $150 for this equipment. He's about $150 an hour.
Oh my gosh.
And that's door to door.
Mhm.
And the closest one I know is probably Plainfield, Lighthouse. But that's just for the one Jeff showed you. They got the one that with the It's a little robot, just goes up there, you can pour around, now those are about $250 an
And you're doubling, or if not a little more, your price on that, but
hour. What's that?
this would, it goes to the robot.
Oh, yeah. Now, my question to you, Jeff, and can you have an extension put on this?
On the 200 foot?
Yes.
I did inquire, but the way I understood it, yes, I mean, however much cable you want. The 200 feet is kind of, it gives you pretty good distance, but what happens, oh, okay, here's the key. Yes, you can, but I couldn't believe the strength and stability that 200 foot cable had. I mean, you could pretty much be all the way out and still kind of work it
Well,
out.
I'm talking the standard length between two sanitary manholes.
Oh,
It's 400 feet.
yeah, we have to go, well, yeah, we have to go in.
And then you going downhill is easier than trying to go uphill.
Right.
Is my question, you're not gonna be able to go from manhole to manhole with.
No. But, and, I mean, they were just upfront saying that, 200 feet is your best controllable.
Okay.
It
This
comes
cable
with,
was,
comes with like a little sled.
That-
Lights on.
that's, yeah, the unit itself is 7650, and the little sled is called a roller skid assembly, which keeps the head up out of the water,
Yeah.
and it attaches to that roller, so it keeps the head up without water. It's $300. So that's why
You can
it's
see
$79.50.
you can see everything in it. It's amazing.
No, that was my only question on the 400, over 400 feet, because that's the standard dimension
Yeah.
between two sanitary manholes is 400 feet.
We're sometimes like to have that.
Yeah.
I agree with you, I agree with you.
The material says that fully sealed 1-inch and 2-inch cameras can be mounted on a range of rods from the ultra-flexible 100-foot plumber's reel designed for accessing tight corners to the 500-foot B343 reel designed to push for long distances. The range of compatible sawn skids, brushes, and accessories completes the package. So I don't know. I mean, that would at least suggest that
Yeah, it's
there is some
capable,
variation of 500 feet.
it's capable, but you're losing after
Yeah.
200 or so feet, you're losing
No, I get your point,
control
but-
of the running the
Yeah.
cable is why.
And if the question is it possible, I guess it is.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I've seen them with 400 feet and they can't shove it through.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but you might get a picture of something that you need.
Yeah, you might get a picture, but what I'm talking, if
But
it's
you gotta get it
not-
there.
Yeah, you gotta get it there.
Yeah, and that's, you're right, if you don't have to on the bar, that's why the 200 foot is what, and that was very controllable. This unit also takes still pictures. It records and does both, takes still
Did the
pictures.
locator come with it?
No, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I forgot that. No, it does not come with it, but we have a locator that, we have a locator.
Yeah, we'll work with that.
Yes, it will. Not, it's not the fancier kind that'll give us the depth and all that stuff, but I mean, that's not really the big issue. No, that's why I say that. But our locator does pick it up, yes.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you gotta,
Yeah, so we know if it's curving this way or, yeah,
yeah, that's my only question there, because
yes.
it's really necessary, especially, because nobody really knows where all these sanitary lines go.
No, 200 feet underground, trying to walk off 200 feet above ground, you could be totally lost. But no, yes, our locator does locate where it's at.
Okay. As long as it'll work with it, that's,
Yes, it will. We used it, he was showing us we used it.
You have any idea if you had to buy theirs, what that would be? If you had to buy their locator in order to have it work as well, do you have an idea what that
No,
costs?
I don't.
Because I assume you could always get it, right?
Yeah, I could go in time, I mean,
If you had to.
our locator was the only main reason we got it, because it was in the water main, so. Those were actually the only ones. in a huge road. But again, we've got plenty of storm, and again, I'm not just focusing on wastewater, even though that's what we're, I'd like to have better heads up on, so we can cut down on expenses and surprises.
I asked Jeff, or told Jeff quite a while back, I said, if there's any way that we can afford that, it's gonna save us, it's gonna help us. And because I've seen how they work, and it's just amazing what you can find.
What's the order that they're over, and spend money on, is that
So,
right? Or is this something?
That just stores this on a chip.
Yeah. Goes right in while you're taking it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a video camera, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
But, yeah, that's, I don't know the cost of it, I mean, it is.
And the unit, the head unit there, it's got the control on it, and you take it right off the cart and use it like a little suitcase and go in the show.
That doesn't make no sense to you, doesn't it?
Out there when they did it. It's really all the videos are, as long as they're good and clear, but now these, all these attachments come with it where you make the corners,
Right.
or you got about.
No, that's just like you buy just a vehicle. That's just like looking at a brochure of a vehicle. It shows all this neat stuff, but the back pages are extra.
you can take it back into the
Mud
office.
flaps.
Does it have a smell?
Yeah, I did what I was.
Yeah.
Scratch and slide.
Yeah.
If they had included on an attachment,
Yeah.
that would get around the corner. And believe me, you're gonna run into some stuff.
Well, some of those things are things we can purchase. There's no date.
Maybe you should shove that thing in there, get over, around through a couple of roots, and then you just can't pull it back.
Well, for seven, well, depending on what the cable costs, it's worth it. We're gonna have to dig up that. Dig up that server.
That has to happen, doesn't it? Sometimes.
Well,
Oh, yeah, there's been, well, we had to dig this up over here on the storm sewer because the fire truck, we couldn't get it broke loose with the jetter, so we tried the fire truck, got the hose stuck in there, we had to call it first, it's okay to dig a sewer, or a storm sewer line out. But it's gonna be, it's multi-purpose, it's gonna be what we use for
it's constructed
storm and,
where it doesn't hang up.
Mhm.
Very good, very easy.
Yeah, I say it's small and it's round,
yeah, it's a bullet,
Anyway,
a bullet,
they
where
can
the,
catch, right?
where the fire hose at the nozzle,
Yeah.
it's gonna be bulkier.
Jeff, are you confident on their service to you? I mean.
Yes, they did, this company, does a lot of work with Barbersville and Martinsville. And one of the sales reps, he just demoed a great big old, probably $400,000 vac truck that he pulled in. There were some local construction companies that took note that that vac truck was here.
Yeah.
They know this company that's very reputable, so that's how I got to talk to them too. And they are, they're very. Yeah, Franklin's bought off of them, Cartersville bought off of them, Martinsville bought off of them. In fact, Martinsville, they just bought them back, I think they did buy that off of them.
I think New Orleans going to.
I think they mentioned something about New Island, or demoing something, Donnelly is demoing
Yeah, I don't know, it's
something.
hard for me to wrap my head around because it's $400,000 or something like that. It's a big toy.
Oh, yeah.
You guys need to snuggle up and borrow it. See, that's what we need to figure out how to do.
Well, we have, basically, but we've had to pay for that one.
If
Martinsville's come over a couple times.
Yeah.
If small towns could figure out a way to get along and use each other's equipment like that, just
Oh, yes.
wouldn't that be a great thing?
Last winter, they showed up when we needed them so bad.
Yeah, we got a pretty good rapport with
Yeah,
Martinsville.
that's good.
So, are you asking the council for,
Yes, I'm asking the council for $79.50 to purchase a storm sewer, wastewater sewer camera. The one that just showed, that was demoed to us.
I make a motion, we go ahead and purchase that.
You say.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. I think this is very necessary. It's going to save us money. We can find things to fix things.
I haven't heard back, but Vectren has a program where their employees dedicate 16 hours for community service. And I was approached by a Vectren employee that wants to help us out. I have not received contact yet from his boss, but they're talking about bringing their own. I just want to let you know they're talking about bringing their own. They'll bring their own equipment, dump trucks, and everything. And we thought a good start would be to clear out everything around the perimeter of the Old Town Park. Possibly make way to, so we can envision a possible walking path at that location down there to start off with. Can't do anything up here till the recorded survey areas are.
Bring their own equipment.
That's what he said, yes. And we have 24 work orders this month. We're trying our best. Got in conjunction with Lynn Fritchie with Community Corrections. Thanks to her. I get about every other, if not every third Saturday, get a Community Corrections crew to, on a Saturday morning. It's the hottest it's been, so it's just been able to work during the mornings. But we take out the mowing out of the lagoons around the ponds, which just keeps IBM happy. So, other than that, that's all I have. Unless any of you have any questions.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Go to the town marshal.
I think the only thing I had on the actual agenda was the discussion about the cleanup. We might do a cleanup day again. And before I talked to John Knight about that, I wanted to make sure I had the blessing of the board that we would be interested in doing that again. And last year we waited a month too long, and we tried to do it right before Water Day, and ended up being the same day as the Bean Blossom Boogie Gathering, or whatever they have done, whatever they call it now. And that was one of Knight's biggest trash removal days of the year. So I was talking to Sharon about this and, during our budget inquest, and it looked like we had some money available for trash removal, and we believe the money is there. I just wanted to see what the board felt like, if they thought it was worthwhile, and we'll continue to go forward. And I'll contact Mr. Knight and see if he's interested in providing a similar service as he did last year. I thought by doing it down the basketball courts and using that gravel area, the parking lot area, and marking it off, put a camera up there, we were able to control it a little better, and there was a lot of trash left.
Council, get on that?
Why not?
I think a lot of people in town use it every year.
Well, there's been different schools of thought on that. People think, well, they'll just let it store up and go on with it. You know, it's not, that's a small percentage. There are some people that do that. There are people that are looking for an opportunity to get that stuff that they have decided after 6 or 8 months they no longer need it. And they just want to get rid of it rather than let it sit around. And so I think that this is a good way to go about that. And so I'll talk to Mr. Knight, and I'll hopefully We can look at a date. The next board meeting is August 13th, and we need approval on if there's any major changes in that. I know what we spent last year. Sharon?
It was less than $1,000, I think. It was by the ton, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't very much. We've got 3,000, we're halfway through the year, and we've got $3,021 left in that fund, over half, way over half what we've got.
We can probably, if we wanted to even get some approval tonight, is go to a not-exceed, figure. I think that's what we did last year, because we were gonna do it right before the next board meeting. And I think it was a not-to-exceed $1,500 or something like that. Seems like, best I recall. It might have been a little more than that, it might have been not to exceed $2,000. But we're not gonna spend anything more than necessary, because whatever equipment he brings in, he charges us for the tonnage. In fact, I think he pretty much donated some of his employees' time and some of the equipment last year. They were really, really busy that day. But he made it work. I think if we do it on a different day, we can even make it work better. And we can get those in here and out of here possibly on the same day.
So you will work with him.
I will contact him, and, if the board wants to, if I tell him that the board is in favor of it, does the board want to set a not to exceed figure on it tonight? And then I can work with that and we can go from there, because I know John's not gonna, if they say not to exceed $2,000, he's not gonna give us a bill for $1,999. He's gonna, they're gonna be very reasonable. In fact, we're dead to him somewhat, because he's been, pretty.
What about
good.
just asking him for his bottom line first?
Sure. He doesn't need to know the figure. He doesn't need to know.
Okay.
And because based on, I'll just have him based on what he paid last year. Because I don't know what fees, tonnage fees may have gone up, in transfer stations. So that's maybe something we might be facing. Certainly, no fuel's up a little bit. So I think the cost will be a little more this year. I don't expect it to be a lot more unless the tonnage goes way up. But I think if we do it like we did last year, not allow that out-of-town trash to come in and be deposited before we actually open the doors, then I think we're ahead of the game.
So I think we need a motion for the cleanup dumpsters, and that is a reasonable cost. Let's get the bottom line first.
Okay, I make a motion, we go ahead with the cleanup. Dave?
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
If I could say on this subject, Princess Lakes had their cleanup day, I think, between your last meeting and now. And it was more successful than they ever hoped. Yeah, and it brought a lot of people who, to Jeff's point, had accumulated things, not waiting on the cleanup day, but they have properties that are just a problem, and they seized the opportunity to get some of it cleaned up. They had a bunch of kids that kind of got T-shirts for them, and they had a good many of them who really worked hard. They went out to some of the folks' houses and actually loaded trucks and brought it into the dumpsters, and then helped people load off things that they brought into the dumpsters. But they can't wait to do it again, and I think did you help some maybe, but Jeff Deckard primarily.
Yeah, it's worked out better. When we did it before Jeff came, we just had dumpsters down there.
Well, but I'm talking about helping Princess Lakes.
Yeah, I talked about he related.
They mentioned it, Jeff.
Tim Kelly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it really was a good event for them, but it also turned out so well because they talked with Morgantown.
Was this the first one?
Yeah,
Oh,
and I had said to them, well, Morgantown did that. It was a big success for them. Talk to Jeff Deckard, see what he might be able to offer in the way of some suggestions and guidance. And they did, and he did. And, if you had attended their meeting, they're singing the praises of Morgantown and Jeff for having helped them and Morgantown having inspired them to do it. And they're gonna do it again. They're already talking about it next year. And so I just wanted to know that, not to report that they had a good experience, but it had a lot to do with a good neighbor. And I don't know, it's kind of heartwarming to see that stuff work that way, and the more of it, the more communities kind of help each other out that way and set good examples and all. It's just good for everybody. And I think there, and I think here too, it creates some sense of community because everybody's got sort of a common purpose, and they kind of come together with a shared outcome. And anytime you can do that, it ultimately just leads to better things. So it was, I think, on Prince Blake's behalf, you sort of thank you to Morgantown and Jeff in particular. And I suspect you'll hear something more formal about that at some point along the way. But, yeah, thanks.
Well, I will say this, that if it weren't for a couple guys sitting in the back of the room here, Joe Payne and John Levins and Jewel Levins and Susan Gordon, and I could go on and on and on, and these kids who are getting up here and getting out of bed on a Saturday morning to come in here and do these things, that's made it successful. That has really made it successful. And we had kids out here. There wasn't as much trash sitting out on driveways, but it was kind of last minute notice next year. And maybe if we get our notice out a little earlier, we probably can anticipate a little more tonnage than what we had last year. And we can keep the kids, busier and keep things moving. But once again, it was a last minute notice because we hadn't talked about it. But yeah, it was such a good idea that we wanted to go forward with it. Still a success, but I think this year's going to even be better than last year. And as long as those guys are willing to help again, it's in the back of the room. But once again, it's a way to get the community involved in the project and take a little pride in what's going on.
It's going to be t-shirts.
I'll talk to the Lions Club. Lions Club sponsored it last year with t-shirts. I think the t-shirt bill was around $300. But they had some left over. I suggested that they sell them, at a reduced rate at Barter Day or whatever. Just take those shirts and put them on sale. They're decent quality t-shirts, and I think some of the kids kind of enjoy wearing them around.
Well, thank you, Lee, for that.
Yeah. And one other thing is that, and I know this is something that I embrace it, and so does Jeff Downey. We embrace it. I think the town embraces it, but I'm not sure that we need to be notified of these events that are going on. We're seeing the churches, a couple of the churches in the area, they're advertising a block party. They're advertising a get-together, and they're saying it's going to be at the basketball courts at such and such time. And we're looking around, and we're the last to know. We don't attend church at that particular location. So I think that probably that I could reach out to the pastors of those churches and at least let them know, because I think we need to be notified when there's a gathering, of people and something's going on, even in the neighborhood. This is going to be happening across from Courtney's house, and I certainly like to know when there's going to be a large gathering of people around there, so that we can, make sure that maybe we can have an extra reserve or somebody come out that day and kind of just be of help. And maybe the fire department should even know about it, depending on what kind of activity they're having, and the event they need an ambulance service, and the event that something happens to more than one person. So that's about a month ago there was one, and then we just saw a flyer today where there's another one scheduled July 25th, somewhere in
Yeah, that last weekend is July sometime.
25th, 29th, somewhere in the last week of July. So I think it would be in respect to them to just say, hey, can you give us a call and at least let us know. They are using the town property, they're using some of the town facilities, and there may be may or may not be some liability issues, or depending on what they're gonna drag into, you know. I don't know if they're gonna have electricity there, they're gonna bring generators in, you know, I don't know what a block party consists of, and how many barbecue grills they're gonna have, and if there's a fire danger that's up, you know, getting the end of July, or you know, we need to know some of these issues, and the fire department needs to know that there's a large gathering of people down there as well. So, just letting you know that probably going to be in contact with a couple of the local churches here to ask them to give us a heads up on. Sure. You know, we need one of those posters posted on the door of town hall, and we don't have that. You know, it's at the Brood. And
I think it was just accidentally found in the first, I mean, I didn't see it, but anyway.
But anyway, and, you know, it's not trying to, I encourage that. That's a great thing to happen. And I want those things to happen. But also, I think on the flip side of that coin, you know, you need to be prepared for the things that you don't want to happen. You need to be prepared for those things that they might bring in, and you can, you know, we might have something planned, or the boring guys may be coming in. They may schedule, you know, come in and do boring, and who knows what's going to happen. So there's just a lot of things, and a lot of what ifs. I just think it would be better if they notified.
Plus my timing on the mowing and everything else, you know, because obviously I'm for it too, just like Jess said, and I want it to look nice, so probably would want to mow that in the latter part of the week, so it's fresh and everything else.
So anyway, just to bring you up to speed and let you know what's going on with that. The only other thing I have, it wasn't on the agenda, and I wanted to let the council know that I discovered that one of my duties is to make sure that Judge Hanson is aware of our ordinance, all of our ordinances. And currently, there were 3 on file. One was a grass ordinance, a prior grass ordinance. One was a speeding ordinance, and one was a stop sign violation ordinance. So I took over, I took the ordinances to Judge Hanson, and I held back the public park ordinance because as I looked through it, we didn't have a complete list of what is prohibited or a lot of the rules set forth yet. So I held that one back, but I did present to Judge Hanson the new golf cart ordinance 2017-1 and ask him to give particular attention to expired permit, passengers with no seat and seating capacity, and the fact that they are prohibited from pulling trailers and wagons. So he has that at this time, and then I gave him 2016-4, which replaces 2014-8. And that is the upgrading of the weed and the grass ordinance, which gives the specific, in section 4, gives the specifics about what, how the violation comes about. And then I gave him the nuisance ordinance and had them pay particular attention to section 1, section 5, and he saw no conflict in the fact that it says the town marshal is in charge of the responsibility of fulfilling this ordinance. And section 5, it just says an officer of the Morgantown Police Department. He saw no conflict in that, thought an officer and the marshal could be one and the same. Also, in that, I asked him to pay particular attention to abandoned vehicles, trash, and then overgrown trees and shrubs. Because I'm calling some attention to an overgrown shrub that's encroached onto a sidewalk and is also blocking the view from Washington Street. So those ordinances are now in Judge Hanson's court. I will go through Insight, which is puts the ordinances on our e-ticket system. and where then the officers can write tickets off of these violations. And I'll pass those on to Lee and let Lee know what the court dates are for the remainder of 2018 and for the 2019 dates to him as well.
They do 4 times for us, right? They said 4 days.
As a rule, they said 4 times. This, because they got a new clerk, we didn't get the court dates from this year until late. And then once the new clerk found out that she was supposed to do that, then they set 3 dates, but they were like October, November, December. So I eliminated November, and we just used October and December.
Okay. And you did the back recorder.
So I'll forward those to you as well.
All right.
And then also I'll forward you a list of, I checked various parks around and found that Fishers Park had a really kind of nice set of rules and things to go by. And I made some notes on this. I'll rough something out, send it to you to see if we can plug it into the park ordinance and bring it up to date. So that's all I have.
Mayor, take over. You want to get the shore?
Well, can I jump in because I got skipped? Oh, that's okay. I haven't been here a couple meetings. I have a request for a wastewater adjustment in the amount of $97.39. It was located under the house in a crawl space. It went on for quite a few months. They waited for a few months and then they called in and we wrote up a work order and Jeff went out and said, "You've got a leak." The meter was running, so. The library, 479 North Church. This was in May when they finally got it fixed. You know which one I'm talking about now.
So, not the whole check, so.
At the corner of the church and park.
Laura,
Laura, that's the library here in town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Didn't know if I could sit
You
through all-
probably did. You skipped me, I jumped in.
Oh, let's go home. I didn't know if I could sit through all Becky's adjustments.
That's where we're at. I jumped in when you ran out.
All right.
I've got,
You need approval?
yeah,
Make a motion that we approve. To refund Laura's.
All in favor?
Aye.
okay. And the next one is, it's a little different. I've never brought one of these before the board. This is a request for a late fee adjustment or to waive the late fee. It's for the People's State Bank. She's asking the $6.87 the fee be waived. She actually called and asked Sharon, but I brought it to you guys because you guys are the ones that can approve or deny requests like this. They do, is it called home bank, or their home, what's it called, Sharon? Where these checks actually come from? Do you remember what she said it was?
it's in Bloomington. That's their home, the major.
Ellisville.
Yeah, or
Sellersville.
yeah, it goes to like their headquarters and then they cut the check, which after Sharon and I talked, we're gonna talk to Lynn and see if it would be more convenient for her if we just automatically sent it to them and then maybe we wouldn't get it late, because that's what First Merchants does. So yeah, she did request this and they've waived a lot of fees for the town. So that's the only reason that
Yeah.
I'm bringing this to you guys, so it falls in your court. So it's $6.87.
Well, that's the reason why I felt like this, we should adjust that, because they have waived several things for us. But like you said, maybe from now on, we can send them directly and avoid that confusion, let them be on time. Maybe
Right.
Help them be on time.
Right.
Maybe let's go get our adjustments too.
Well, and they've been late before, but what drew her attention was we sent out a delinquent letter, which is something new that we've started. We send out a disconnect notice, but now we also send out a delinquent notice. We got some good feedback, we got some bad feedback from that. But it's just, people say, well, I didn't pay my bill, you didn't tell me. Well, I don't know who doesn't all pay their bill, but now we send out, you know what I mean, and I get that. You didn't tell me that I forgot to pay this month. Yeah, so now we sent out the delinquent letter, and when Lynn received the delinquent letter is when she was like, whoa, we didn't pay you guys, so, but anyway, so $6.87.
Maybe that can be resolved. We need a motion.
I'll make a motion to pay it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. We'll turn it over now to our town attorney.
So I've got two ordinances. You've got 2018-6. Let me go ahead and pass that 7-2. You all know this sad story, right? We have a sewer utility that's kind of broke and has some bills we can't pay. But we have a water utility that has some surplus earnings. So, I mean, that's good. The state utility law allows one municipal utility to borrow money from another. The water utility has surplus earnings of close to $120,000. It's a little less than that right now, but it does have some money. It should. What I want to make sure we don't lose sight of here is the water utility has some surplus earnings because when rates were set based on what was the operation maintenance for that utility, there was enough built in to start accumulating some money, which is what we want to do, and is what didn't happen in the sewer utility. I mean, utilities that are being run the way they're supposed to pay their operation maintenance expense along the way, and they put money aside for depreciation and replacements of needed equipment and to make improvements down the road. And in the same way that you might save money because you're going to need a new roof, you're going to need a furnace someday, or you're going to need your driveway repaired, or you need to buy a new car, or those things that all businesses and households try to do. Utilities ought to do that too, but most of them just don't. It just didn't work out that way. And so, you increase rates in the sewage works recently. That was a hard thing to do. At the time that you increased rates, we knew that we had some increased operation maintenance expense, but at the time that that was being done, we weren't aware, we hadn't yet faced the reality of some one-time expenses that came along. Those are Westler had some service fees that we owed them for the INI investigation. That's what they did, right, Jeff?
Yes.
That's what it was. Which you're going to end up taking advantage of. I mean, you're going to get some benefit from that, but we need to pay them for the work they did. We agreed we'd pay them for their engineering, and then we're at a point where they sent us a bill, we don't have any money. Jeff's had some lift station issues come up since that rate increase. I don't know that there was any way we could have known to roll that money in at the time. It just came along. About $12,000, I think, of expense there. And so, you know, we don't have a lot of really good choices to come up with money in a utility, a municipal utility, to catch up on unexpected expenses. One of them would be to try to borrow some money someplace, but you have limitations on that because it's a utility, it's a local government, you have tax exempt issues, and is it considered a bond, and you have bond counsel involved, and you're paying interest. That's kind of tricky. You don't want to increase rates again. And even if you did, we would end up with increased rates and more revenue. It would take several months for you to collect that money, and we need to really pay some of these bills about 90 days ago. So, we can have the sewer utility borrow money from the water utility, and I prepared ordinances to permit that to happen. The utility law requires, it's just money, and it's all the town's money, but there are, certain money goes in certain containers and can only be taken out of there, put in other containers, and so the rule is that one utility can borrow from what's called the cash reserve fund of another utility. Our water utility has some additional money that's just being held in the operating fund. We have sort of one main account in the water utility out of which we pay our routine operation and maintenance, and the excess earnings have just landed in there, and that's where they've been held. What we really ought to do is we ought to set some of that surplus earnings over into a depreciation and replacement fund, so we're building up some savings to buy things as we need to. And then the additional money over and above what we need for operation and maintenance should go into a cash reserve fund. But we don't have either of those funds. And we have to have a cash reserve fund in order to make the loan to the sewer utility. So this 2018-6 that you have first sets out the Indiana Code sections that provide for different funds for a water utility to be set up. One of them is a cash reserve fund. It is created by ordinance and carried on the records of the utility and can provide for surplus earnings to be deposited in there. If we got more money than we need, that's kind of our little savings account. And then the code also provides for us to set up a replacement depreciation fund. And so what 2018-6 does is builds these containers. It creates, or it establishes in the page 2 in the middle where it says accordingly, we will set up a special utility account to be known as a depreciation replacement fund. And any excess earnings we have will start to deposit in that fund, so we're building up some savings for expenses, for improvements, capital expenses, trucks, equipment, things that we may need along the way. That's paragraph 1. Paragraph 2 is we'll set up a separate cash reserve fund for monies over and above that will be just sort of savings for who knows what we may need along the way. That is where surplus earnings are to be held. And then paragraph 3 provides for the town's water utility operating fund, which holds this excess money now. $50,000 will immediately be transferred to the cash reserve fund of the water utility. So we're going to put some money in that container so that we can right away take it out and loan it over to the sewer utility. So that's what this ordinance does. It creates 2 new funds. Most importantly, and for our immediate needs, it creates the cash reserve fund, and it moves $50,000 from the water utility general operating fund into the cash reserve fund. That's the first hurdle we're clearing so we can get to it and pay our sewer bills. Does that make sense? Okay, so 2018-6 does that. So if you have a question, I know this is stuff we haven't done before, and we're doing it because we're in dire straits in our sewer utility, but I don't think there's any other way we can address our needs, and I'd rather borrow money from ourselves than try to figure a way to borrow money from some third party. And the bad, like I said before, the bad news is our sewer utilities in kind of a bad spot right now. The good news is we have money someplace else in our water utility that we can actually tap into.
Had this already been in effect, we wouldn't have the problem we have now with our broken pumps, with pumps. bad, it's pathetic, we're so in violation with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not something we put off. Like, this isn't elective on this stuff that we have to pay for the sewage works. These are bills we've already incurred. And you gotta fix those lift stations have to work.
Yeah, we were, that's another bill for last Thursday, and that we got that rain, that's where we had another overflow.
Okay.
But it's a violation.
We can't do that. So if that makes sense, then I would ask you to adopt 2018-6 to create most of course a cash reserve fund and move $50,000 into it, and to adopt it on 2 readings tonight so we can get the money where it needs to be and pay the bills.
Need a motion to adopt the ordinance, what's the number on here?
2018-6.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
And then I would ask you to move to suspend the rules and adopt 2018-6 on second reading tonight.
So we do need a motion to remove, suspend the rules to adopt this on second reading.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
And then Mike, you want to sign yours and send it back around. Okay, then 2018-7 is coming in right behind this. And so what this tells us is the council has now established a cash reserve fund for the water utility into which surplus earnings will be from time to time transferred. That under Indiana Code Section 815311, the cash reserve fund may be authorized to make loans to another utility owned by the same municipality. So the other utility in this case is the town sewage works. That the town's water utility has in the cash reserve fund that we just created $50,000, because part of that last ordinance is instructing Sharon to deposit $50,000 in there. And the sewage works is in need of additional funds to pay extraordinary one-time expenses that weren't contemplated, just like we just explained, and the ones we just identified. And the council is deciding to authorize a loan from the water utility to the sewage works. And the amount of money we've specified in here as the amount to be loaned is $37,600. Now, Sharon, I may need you to help explain this, that Steve Brock has been involved in this. What this amount is the sum of what we owe to Westford.
Yes.
What we owe about $12,000 on the lift station repair.
We will, I mean,
Yeah.
they haven't done it yet.
And then Steve suggests that we take about $15,000. The planning grant match that we owe $4,000. So it's it was the balance to West for $6,600, $4,000 on our wastewater planning grant match that came up at the last meeting, right?
And this is the planning grant.
Right. So we owe that fee. That's another professional fee. The pump repair, the $12,000, and then about $15,000 of just extra funds to be placed over into the sewage works to have that money there, because they're really struggling every month just to keep up with the bills. There's always this lag time because there's a certain group of customers who are late pays. And so about $15,000 of this is money that we're just going to park in the sewage works rather than the water utility, because it's in need of money for operation and maintenance. And then we're going to wait and see if after we get through this rough spot with the rate increase that you adopted not long ago and the additional revenue that started to roll in from that, if we can kind of get the sewage works back up on its feet and everything going smoothly, then maybe some of that other $15,000 will just get paid back to the water utility. The sewage works is going to have to pay back. I mean, this is a loan, and what State Board of Accounts is going to look at is the sewage utility pays back the water utility. And I haven't set up any schedule for that, and I'm not having the town charge a self-interest. We could, but I don't see any sense in the sewer utility paying the water utility interest. I mean, this money is all money coming from the same group of customers. But, anyway, so the amount that has been suggested is the sum of what we actually have in the way of hard bills that we owe, plus another 15,000 that we're just moving over to the utility that's in greater need. And then what we'll need you to do every once in a while is take a look at this. Becky and Sharon are going to need to keep track of how it's going and whether the new rates are generating more revenue and whether the sewer utility is starting to gain some momentum and doing better. And if it is, and hopefully it will, unless we have some other unforeseen expenses come along, but if everything levels out, we have some good luck here for a bit. My hope is we can start shifting that money back over where it belongs. And then, you're going to be, at some point in the next year or so, looking at a construction project on the sewer side with some funding. And hopefully that's going to be real cheap money and a lot of grant money. But there may be a need to look at rates again when we see what we're going to have in the way of debt obligation at the time. And when that day comes, we'll probably just clean all this up and get the money back where it goes. But we got to get from here to there. So this 2018-7 authorizes a loan from the water utility cash reserve fund to the sewage works of $37,600. Has to be repaid within 5 years, without interest, with no set payment schedule for the time being. Okay, that all right? Makes sense?
Sure does.
So then we need a motion on this to adopt on first reading, and then to suspend the rules and adopt it on second reading too, so we can get this money freed up.
We need a motion to adopt on first reading the ordinance
I'll make a motion.
2018-7.
I'll make a motion.
We need a second.
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Then we need a motion to suspend rules. Should I say this right?
Yeah, to suspend the rules to adopt 2018-7 on second and final reading.
Final reading.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second
Those in favor?
it. Aye.
Thank you.
And then I pass out one more ordinance here. It is an amendment to our salary ordinance for the balance of 2018. Jesse was hired and is being paid more than what
Well, that's because Bobby was going to make $250 a week.
well, but before,
Oh,
right? Even before that, right? Because Bobby went from there to there, and then, but in any case, the position of operations assistant, that position is being paid more than it was, I guess because Jesse's certified in doing the function that Bobby was as a third-party contractor, right? So we roll that together.
right, and it all, yes.
So we're not really paying more in total salary because we're not paying the $250 to a certified operator. We've rolled that in, but it's being paid to the person holding that position. And so we need to amend the salary. So under the public works section, under the position of operations assistants for public works, the salary is $880, $22 an hour salary, non-exempt based on 40 hours, a third. Same payment scheme, it's broken up the same way, MVH, sewer and water. And same benefits as what were being provided before. This needs to be effective back to April 9th when he was hired. But because we've increased the compensation, we have to amend the salary ordinance to reflect that.
As one individual student, the increase was, there is no more being taken out of wastewater or anything than was before. Just so you know, I gotta keep my eyes on that.
Right.
It's the same amount whether I have a regular kind of employee plus Bobby's $250 a week.
Right.
It all comes out the same.
But it's being paid to a single
One
position.
Here's your money.
So same deal, if that's okay with all of you, and if we really are, it's more matter of housekeeping than anything else. Need you to adopt this and then adopt that on second reading because if we're going back April 9th because it's retroactive, I really want to get it done.
18.8 and 18.8.
Yeah.
Okay, we need a motion to adopt the ordinance 2018-8, first reading.
I make a motion. to adopt it.
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Both of these things,
Yes.
seven.
And also need a motion to adopt 2018-8, suspending the rules and adopt it on second reading.
Perfect.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I guess it's caught up on all that stuff. And we've got signed, we get this one, you'll have a signed copy of all three.
We signed it.
What do you, another copy of that?
Yeah.
We type his name, we put a line above it, and there you still, he's signed the right place.
I didn't.
The one you signed on the front page there.
Yeah, this one.
Which one? 76?
Six, the first one, if he just signed that.
Can't make it any easier than that.
Okay. The public comment,
I'd like to address the board.
you may.
All right. First, I'd like to read IC 5-14-3, Chapter 3, Access to Public Records. IC 5-14-3.1, Public Policy, Construction, Burden of Proof or Non-Disclosure. Section 1A, a fundamental philosophy of the American constitutional form of representative government is that government is the servant of the people and not their master. Accordingly, it is a public policy of this state that all persons are entitled to full and complete information regarding the affairs of government and the official acts of those who represent them as public officials and employees. Providing persons with information is an essential function of the representative government and an integral part of the routine duties of public officials and employees whose duty it is to provide the information. This chapter shall be literally construed to implement this policy and make the burden of proof for non-disclosure of a public record on the public agency that would deny access to the record and not on the person seeking to inspect and copy the record. Under IC 514-3-2, Section 2, this applies to, under definitions, public agency, any board, commission, department, division, bureau, committee, agency, office, instrumentality, or authority by whatever name designated exercising any part of the executive, administrative, judicial, or legislative power of the state. 2, a county, township, school corporation, city, or town, or any board, commission, department, division, bureau, committee, office, instrumentality, or authority of any county, township, school corporation, city, or town, or any entity or any office thereof by whatever name designated, exercising in limited geographical area the executive, administrative, judicial, or legislative power of the state of a delegated local governmental power. 2 weeks ago, I turned in a public request to know who the park members were, the park committee was. Okay, I get this letter back from our attorney, and I'll read this to you. It says, with regard to your request for park board minutes, Morgantown does not have a park board. A self-formed committee of town employees and citizens has met and discussed improvements to the town's parks. To my knowledge, there are no minutes of that committee's meetings. The town endorsed this park committee in the council minutes 2 meetings ago. It also endorsed it to the newspapers. They've already taken action. The survey markers have been set. The soil testing was under the council's order, and now they're discussing the walking trail. They're acting under the authority of the council's direction. I would encourage this council to make our park committee official. Thank you. There's a lot of folks that would really like to attend these meetings and know something about what's going on with their park.
Why aren't they here?
This is not a park meeting.
Well, how do they know if I'm talking?
Because there's no committee.
Joe?
It's me and Joey's gonna form us a self-appointed committee to rob the town, and I'd like to have money for engineering surveys and studies and all that, you know, and, I mean, these should be public. The meeting should be public. Whoever's listed on it should be public.
Just to correct you on one thing, the town, or the committee did not ask for the survey of the park. Me as the town superintendent.
No, I didn't say the survey, I said the staking. We went over there and we restaked it all. It
Yeah.
wasn't,
No, I did that on my time.
doesn't matter, you're a council member.
I still went over there and did it on my time.
Correct, you're a council-
I had a survey done in 1992.
Correct, yes, you did. Yes, you did, but you were acting under the authority of this board. Yeah, the board, they endorsed it when they mentioned it in the newspaper and in the minutes, read the minutes of the meeting 2 months back. It's not top secret. It's
I wasn't top secret, I had my truck over there.
No, I'm not saying that you were personally. I'm just saying that it is a function of the town. This park is part of our town. We've always had a park board before, and now we don't have, and there's a lot of people interested in what's happening over there. They really are. I have nothing in it, believe me, I have no dog in that fight over there, none, zero. But it's wrong to leave the people out of these meetings. Let them have their say, make them public.
I agree with you. There's nothing happening until we get,
But there's already actions have been taken, Mike, those things need to go to the public.
What, the soil sampling? I think that's more like a public health
You see,
concern. and not
correct,
like-
I mean all of it, They should be in on the planning process. There's already maps and stuff that are out there and being worked on. They ought to be able to look at the maps, they ought to be able to be involved in the park. It's the town's park.
Who's doing the mapping?
I don't know what we're doing in this committee. I just know that we're rolling down the road and the council's endorsing the committee. You're allowing them to go ahead with actions. He allowed you to go ahead with an action, even if it is on your time. It's still an action on the town's park, the people's park. And the same with Jeff and Jeff and their committee. It's all actions on the town's people's park. Give them something. I don't know, give them something.
we'll work on that.
Okay, I'm just encouraging, that's all. And sometimes I'm not so encouraging, but thank you anyway.
We'll work on that.
All right, I appreciate you all.
I chair this meeting adjourned.